Regarded as one of the greatest orators in history, Demosthenes rose to become the voice of Athens as her authority was being challenged on the world stage. His childhood was one of great struggle. His frailty of body and his being orphaned at the age of 7 put him at a severe disadvantage against the other Athenian youths. Regardless, he desired to become a great orator, and he disciplined himself vigorously to improve his speaking ability. His career as a statesman began as a speechwriter for judicial prosecutors before advancing into politics. In 352 BC, Demosthenes pursued a policy of war against the rising power of Macedon. Through his verbal assaults against Philip II, he roused the Athenians to support a formal resistance to Macedonian rule. This resulted in the formation of a new confederacy of Greek city-states in 338. With additional assistance from Thebes, Demosthenes and the Athenians met Philip and his Macedonians in battle near the city of Chaeronea. The Greeks were decisively defeated, but Philip was unable to capitalize on his victory before he was assassinated in 336. As his son Alexander was securing his kingdom, Demosthenes once again rallied the Greek cities to revolt against Macedon. However, Alexander ended the revolution by utterly destroying Thebes and compelling Athens to negotiate for peace. Despite his failure, the Athenians regarded Demosthenes with high honor, going so far as to offer him a golden crown for his service to the city. This led to his most famous oration ever published, where he defended his record against the orator Aeschines and attacked the statesman who supported a policy of peace with Macedon. After this, he went into retirement before getting involved with the aristocrat Harpalus, which resulted in his exile due to his conviction on charges of bribery. After the death of Alexander in 323, Demosthenes returned to Athens and immediately supported a third call for Greece to revolt against Macedon. In what was known as the Hellenic War, the Macedonians defeated the Greeks, and the general Antipater ordered the execution of Demosthenes. Not wanting to be taken into custody, he fled to the island of Calaria, where he waited for his captors in a temple to Poseidon. When the Macedonians arrived, Demosthenes chose to end his life by taking poison and died at the foot of the altar. After his death, Athens and the rest of Greece came under the total control of Macedon. The once mighty city that shone as a beacon of freedom became the remnant of a bygone era. And now we shall turn our attention to his Roman counterpart. From the beginning, Marcus Tullius Cicero was destined to become the voice of Rome at a time when her political condition was at its most dire. As a young man, he possessed a quickness for all kinds of learning, and studied under Philo of Larissa and Scaevola the Augur in preparation for his career in politics. To further cultivate his oratorical skills, Cicero traveled to Greece and Asia Minor in the early 70s to study under multiple teachers, among whom were Antiochus of Ascalon and Apollonius of Molon. Returning to Rome in 77 BC, he was soon elected to quaestor for the following year and assigned to Sicily as his province. Here he gained the respect of the people for being a fair administrator. Years later, he was called upon to prosecute the former governor of Sicily, Gaius Verus, on charges of malfeasance. This was a difficult challenge for Cicero, as Verus was being defended by the renowned orator Quintus Hortensius. Nevertheless, his formal training in law and oratory allowed him to successfully convict Verus and surpass Hortensius as the first orator of Rome. Following his victory, Cicero continued up the cursus honorum, serving as aedile in 69 and praetor in 66, before reaching the office of consul in 63 BC. His consulship would prove to be one of the greatest moments of his career. The Roman senator, Lucius Catilina, was plotting to usurp the government due to his inability to be elected consul. When his plot was discovered, Cicero delivered a speech to the Senate at the temple of Jupiter Stator, chastising Catilina and forcing him out of the city. In time, the chief conspirators were rounded up and placed in custody for the Senate to decide their fate. The death penalty was supported by Marcus Cato, whereas life in prison and the confiscation of property was advocated by Julius Caesar. Though Cicero tried to support a policy that favored elements of both options, the decision was made to execute the conspirators without a trial. Catilina himself was summarily killed in a battle against Cicero's consular partner, Gaius Antonius. For his efforts in unveiling the plot, Cicero was awarded the title of Pater Patriae at the behest of Cato. For the rest of his life, he would flaunt his glories when dealing in political matters, much to the annoyance of his contemporaries. Shortly after Catilina's conspiracy, Cicero was enveloped in the Bona Dea scandal with his friend Clodius Pulcher and Julius Caesar. By supporting the prosecution of the former, he was targeted by Clodius when he became plebeian tribune in 58 BC. Cicero feared that his decision to have Roman citizens executed without proper trials would be his downfall, and he was officially exiled from Rome as a result. He stayed in Greece for the better part of 16 months before the Senate finally recalled him. During his second run at politics, Cicero reluctantly supported the first triumvirate and accepted a governorship for the province of Cilicia in 51. According to Plutarch, Cicero's ability to govern and defend the province highlighted the positive aspects of his character. He returned to Rome in January 49 BC, just as the civil war between Caesar and Pompeius was getting underway. Though he initially supported Pompeius, Cicero was eventually pardoned by Caesar and decided to focus on philosophy rather than politics during his dictatorship. Upon the death of Caesar in 44, his associate, Marcus Antonius, made himself the first man in the state in an attempt to check Cicero's popularity, which was on the rise once again. In response, Cicero chose to support Gaius Octavius and pushed for his election to the consulship in 43 BC. But this action, ironically, sealed the fate of Cicero, for Octavius and Antonius combined with Marcus Lepidus to form the Second Triumvirate. With this consolidation of power, the three men issued proscriptions for over 200 political enemies, with Cicero being the chief target of them. Though he tried to flee to the southern coast of Italy, he was routed by a group of soldiers, led by the centurion Herennius. In one final gesture, Cicero offered his own neck for the centurion's sword. The head and hands of Cicero were brought to Rome, where they were nailed to the rostra on the orders of Antonius. The fallout between the members of the Second Triumvirate would bring about a third civil war that would push Octavius to establish a new form of government. For the voice of Rome had been silenced, and the imperial era was soon to be born.